I'm Kate,
And I'm Jamie, and this is Creeps and Coffee.
a show where we talk about the creepiest crime cases around the world
So, let's grab some coffee.
and have a chat.
Hi, folks.
Hello.
Welcome back to another Creeps and Coffee, where we're neither creepy nor do we have coffee today.
Which is why I am so slow.
Same. It's been a long day.
It has been.
I had 3 hours of sleep, half an energy drink, a job interview. I got a job, by the way. Woohoo, Jamie! And then I had a bunch of stuff to do today, and now here we are filming a podcast, and apparently I'm gonna stream after because I'm a nut job who doesn't sleep. I don't need sleep. What's that?
I'm in the same boat. I am running on about 4 hours of sleep and a full energy drink. So at least I have that. But we get to do this, and then I get to make my lesson plans for my 10 kids tomorrow. So if we could get a sponsor, that would be
Please
sick.
give us money. We don't like doing this anymore. Working.
We love the
podcasting.
podcast.
Not working, 5 jobs you have? You have too many jobs.
Yeah, I've got 3 jobs plus the podcast.
And you just finished school. Everybody give her a round of applause. She just
Ooh, made
graduated.
the dean's list. You know,
Got some smart best friend.
I'm kind of a big deal. So we thought
never mind.
the best way to escape from the exhaustion in our lives was to look at Scientology.
Yeah. We are giving a neutral assessment of Scientology. Please don't sue us.
I would like to make a formal announcement to anyone in the Church of Scientology that may be listening to this, that the views expressed by Jamie and I throughout this podcast are not necessarily our own. We are giving an overview based on things that other people have said, and we are broke university graduates. Please, for the love of God, don't sue us for speaking poorly about Scientology.
We have $11 combined.
Yeah, pretty much.
Please. Please don't.
Please don't take
To be
that.
fair, I got all my information off of Google and YouTube, so sue them.
Exactly. Specifically Google and YouTube.
Yeah, so Scientology, eh?
Yeah, I think... So one thing about us is that for the last 14 or 15 years, however long we've been putting up with each other, we've loved talking about conspiracies. And I think, a lot of people do. Just kind of going into what weird stuff is around us in the world. And I think Scientology has been one of those things where, it's on the cusp of religion and conspiracy. Because, it seems like the followers are so devoted and they believe so wholeheartedly in the stuff that they're talking about. But people who have left the church or are looking at it from an outside perspective are just so adamant that it's not all that it's cracked up to be. So it's kind of one of those situations where you don't really know. And I think that's half the fun in the discussion, is just kind of being able to piece together the little bits that we do know. And again, not to speak poorly of it, because we would not want to be sued by the church officials. Not everybody.
It's a mystery.
Exactly.
That's why it's interesting. It's an enigma. And we're we want to know what's going on.
Exactly.
If you want real information, go to www.scientology.ca. It's literally a website.
Or Scientology.org if you're in the States.
Ah, true.
Yeah. There's probably other websites for that one listener we have in Germany.
Did we just start promoting Scientology?
Yep, we did.
Maybe we'll get recruited.
If Scientology wants to sponsor us, I'm in.
I am too, honestly.
Yeah, just saying.
Tom Cruise, how you doing?
Yeah, if Tom Cruise wants to sponsor us. Well, I guess with that being said, I guess the easiest way to kind of start with everything is to look at what Scientology is in general. Directly from the Church of Scientology's website, there's a breakdown of the word Scientology. So it comes from the Latin word scio, which means knowing, and then the Greek word logos, which means the study of.
I learned that in philosophy class.
Yeah, so like psychology, sociology, biology, all the study of the brain, the study of whatever. So Scientology is literally the study of knowing. So like knowing how to know, which is a lot in and of itself. Like there's a lot to break down there. Like how do you properly know how to know? I mean, I guess we'll get into that.
I
but
don't know. I don't know.
It's just kind of an interesting jump into it. So the definition of Scientology is, they say, it's a religion that offers a precise path leading to a complete and certain understanding of one's true spiritual nature and one's relationship to self, family, groups, mankind, all life forms, the material universe, the spiritual universe, and the supreme being. So that's
funky.
That's like a lot.
I don't know what any of it means.
I don't think they do either. They also say that the ultimate goal of Scientology is true spiritual enlightenment and freedom for all. I don't know what kind of freedom they're referring to. And I think, I think it's kind of ironic that they're talking about freedom. I'm so scared to get sued. It's not even funny.
We can put a disclaimer at the front, at the end of
5
this,
minutes.
and in the description. Yeah.
They're powerful people. They scare the shit out of me. That I don't mind saying.
We have no money, so
Please.
That would not be a good idea for them to sue us.
The thing that got me interested in Scientology is the actual origin story of humanity that they give.
Okay.
So, according to Scientologists, their beliefs tie into something that was like 50,000 years in the making. Apparently, people have been talking about this forever. What they say is that, I'm laughing because I'm uncomfortable, 75 million years ago, there were trillions of aliens that were sent to Earth by an intergalactic alien ruler named Xenu. And Xenu sent these aliens to Earth to be vaporized by volcanoes and nuclear bombs.
Oh no.
So
no.
when these aliens, when they were vaporized, they were turned into souls, and these souls.
Isn't Xenu
the warrior
the
princess?
Ouija board demon? Oh no, that's Zozo. The warrior princess.
I think that's Xenon.
I don't know.
It was a Disney movie.
Too many Z's.
But yeah, so
Aliens?
aliens were vaporized and turned into souls called Thetans.
Huh?
Thetans.
Satans?
Thetans. Like Satans with a...
Like a thneed?
Yeah, like a thnee. Exactly like a thnee. I fucking love that you made that connection. That might be one of my favorite things you've ever said to me. What these Thetans would do is they would then attach themselves to human souls, and they were like the root cause of sin, because humans didn't understand how to interact with their own existence and the combination of existing with the Thetan attachment.
Can I make a connection? You said the thneeds, or the whatever they're called. What do you call them? Thnatans or something. The Titans, they connect to the human soul.
Yeah, they Velcro onto it.
So that's literally the preface for The Host by Stephanie Meyer.
Yes.
What the heck?
Um,
Okay, so this is a preteen movie. All right, continue.
you know what? That makes sense. This is kind of skipping ahead a little bit, but to tie it all in, so death they call dropping the body. The idea is that when a human drops their body, the Thetan no longer has a body to attach to. So it returns to an implant station in space. I wish that the people listening right now could see Jamie's face.
This is just giving me very much sci-fi movies from the 1990s.
Exactly. So
Okay.
the Thetan goes to this implant station in space where it's cleansed of all former ties to that human, and then it is sent back to Earth by Xenu, who controls this implant station, where it picks up a new body.
The Matrix. It's giving me Matrix
Big time.
vibes.
It also kind of reminds
Sorry.
me of John Carpenter's The Thing. Just like sucking everything in.
God, okay.
But so
Sorry, I keep interjecting, but I'm like, I'm gonna
That's
forget
fine.
them if I don't get them out.
So it picks up this new body and then starts everything over again. So the entire point of what a Scientologist will do is that they will do something called auditing. So
I've heard of that.
so well, you've probably heard of it in the sense of like you need to audit your taxes.
Oh.
This
yeah.
is like you need to cleanse your soul. So auditing they do with a Scientology counselor, and the more you audit, the more you recall from past lives that your Thetan has been involved in. And when you acknowledge the sins of your Thetan in the past, you reach new levels of enlightenment. And the entire goal of Scientology is to reach a level of enlightenment where you become an operating Thetan or an OT. That way you've acknowledged all sin, you're free, and you won't go back. You'll never have to go back to the implant station in space. You get to just continue living forever.
So, you do past life regressions to become immortal.
Easy, right?
It's too late for this right now. I have no idea.
So that is a...
Tom Cruise, you believe in this? Really?
So that's a little jump into the historical origins of Scientology.
Can I also add, if you want to join Scientology, it'll take about $250,000, I believe, to join.
Well, that's the thing. So...
It's very expensive,
Yes.
which is why a lot of famous people are in
So
it.
to reach the level of operating Thetan that I mentioned, you need to pay for counseling sessions with an auditor.
Yeah.
So that can be upwards of $1,000 an hour per counseling session.
In these counseling sessions, what's her name? Leah Remini.
Leah-
Remini. Leah Remini. Leah Remini.
Remini.
Leah Remini says that in the therapy rooms there are cameras and listening devices. So they are used as blackmail to discredit
Yes.
you if you try and leave the
Yes.
church. So I don't know, that's great.
Because you're also hooked up to e-meters. So an e-meter is like a polygraph test, but you hold metal cans, and it's supposed to see through the human soul, and like if you're squeezing the metal can too tight, it'll detect that like your Thetan is trying to hide something. So
I feel like this is a story written by a 13-year-old boy.
well, the best way to move on from the origins of Scientology is to talk about the brain of the 13-year-old science fiction writer that started Scientology.
You mean L. Ron Hubbard?
I do mean L. Ron Hubbard.
He's an interesting character.
To say the least.
Don't have too much information on him because it was very boring. But I did remember to write down he was the creator of Scientology. Weird flex, but okay. However, I was quick to note from Wikipedia, he's literally a criminal.
Oh, big time. Big time.
Like, he got charged with petty theft and fraud, was sentenced to 4 years in prison, was fined for $35,000. He never served his time in jail and stuff. Why are people following this church and religion started by a criminal?
Well, here's the thing.
Is my question.
So,
Why?
Lafayette Ronald Hubbard is his full name.
Lafayette.
Which is very unfortunate for a variety of reasons. No wonder he goes by L. Ron. So he was born in 1911. His dad was a U.S. Navy commander, so very hardcore. There wasn't a lot on his mom. I'm sure she was just a typical housewife, I guess. But this dude started off his life lying. So he told everybody, he wrote a biography about himself. Told everybody he grew up in Montana on his grandfather's ranch that took up half of the state, which Montana's large. No. His grandfather said that he never owned a cattle ranch.
Oh, wrong.
So the reality is, he lived in an apartment in Helena with his parents.
Oh my gosh.
He also went on to say that, he toured Asia because he felt a spiritual calling. His dad got posted to Guam, so he went there, and he and his mom kind of traveled around those little, Asian spots. So he kind of told the truth in that he did go to different places, but it wasn't on his own for spiritual enlightenment.
Yeah.
He was a 13-year-old following his dad. So, less impressive.
Yeah.
He majored in civil engineering in school, dropped out in his second year, but then he told people he had a PhD, which he did not. He didn't even have a bachelor's degree.
Sir?
Honestly, same. If I could just tell people I had a PhD and have them believe it, I'd be like, yeah, of course.
So much money would be saved.
Yeah, exactly. His real career was that he was a science fiction author. To any Scientologist listening, this is not a fact. This is just a theory that I've put together based on other people's opinions. But I feel like you said, a lot of this story of Xenu and the Thetans feels a little bit like...
Well, that explains so much.
But he was really good.
That just means he's a really good storyteller.
Yeah, so good.
If he's made this many people invested in it.
He was so good at storytelling that when World War II came around, he wanted to join the army, or the Navy, just like his dad, to make his father proud. So he wrote himself a false letter of recommendation. Of course he did, right?
Bruh. And that's where the fraud charges start coming in.
Big time. So, World War II, he joins the Navy. This seems like a boring fact, but it's important for later. This is a little hint about what's gonna come. So, in his time in the Navy, he told everybody he was a big deal. He was super involved. He loved his position. He told people he received more than 20 medals of valor and honor. The reality was, he was given 4 medals, and they were the average ones, I guess. like the participation medals for being in the Navy. A lot of his jobs were just desk jobs because he wasn't considered to be responsible enough to be given any sort of independence. So his biography said that he was an amazing person in the Navy. But here are some excerpts from naval reviews that his officers in charge wrote about him.
Drag him, give me the tea.
This officer is not satisfactory for independent duty assignment. He is garrulous and tries to give impressions of his importance. He also seems to think he has unusual ability in most lines. These characteristics indicate that he will require close supervision for satisfactory performance of any intelligence duty. Consider this officer lacking in the essential qualities of judgment, leadership, and cooperation. He acts without forethought as to probable results. Not considered qualified for command or promotion at this time. Recommend duty on a large vessel where he can be properly supervised.
I know a few people like that. It's not a good personality, and no, you should not have them in the military.
No.
Or the Navy.
So he was also formally discharged from the Navy in 1945.
I wonder why.
Yeah, really.
What happened?
Oh my god, he was doing so well.
What a shame.
So after he was discharged, you would think like, oh, he's gonna... Well, because he had a family at this point. He had a wife and like 2 kids, I think. So you would think like, oh yeah, he's gonna go back to his family, whatever, move on. No, he moved to California by himself. He started a magical practice to summon Babylon.
Who is Babylon? I know that name.
Yeah, like ancient deity. It was like a sex ritual or something. I don't know.
Ron?
Buddy, what are you doing?
You good? You good?
He also worked as a hypnotist and as a swami, which is like a Hindu spiritualist.
Can I also just say that the fact that he worked as a hypnotist also makes so much sense with all the accusations of him with the mind control techniques? Interesting.
So, in
Continue.
1950, our buddy Ron published a book that combined knowledge from hypnotism and his swami experience and this magical sex ritual for Babylon. And he took a little bit of inspiration from Aleister Crowley, who was like...
I know that name.
Big time into like black magic and stuff. So he took inspiration from him, which is red flag number 42. And created this thing called Dianetics.
I've heard of that too.
So Dianetics, so dia is the Greek word for through, and then the like origin of netics is the Greek word nous, which means the mind or the soul. So Dianetics is like what the mind or the soul is doing to the body. So he basically founded Scientology on this concept of the mind being in control, or like the soul being in control of the body, which is where the Thetans come in. My favorite thing about all of this is that once he published this book, his son totally ratted him out. He was like, no, my dad was doing a shit ton of drugs at this point. Like, he was hopped up on everything.
That checks out. That makes sense.
And I just love that his son was like, nah, not today, Dad.
If you started spouting off stuff like that, I'd call you out.
I would hope so.
I'd be like, hey, Caitlin's on heroin. Do not listen to her. There are no fneeds floating in the sky. Like,
so, that got me really good. Scientology at that point was basically like the idea that Dianetics composed, like the brain was composed of mental images of someone's life, like their memories, which is a thing. And there were negative memories called engrams. So you need to audit the engrams to become cleared, and the goal was that every person must clear themselves of their engrams and their attachment to Thetans to achieve peace.
it sounds like with the audio connection, it keeps sounding like you're saying Satan.
I might as well.
So you're like, the connection to Satan, and I'm like, okay.
All right, yeah. So, once you clear the engrams, like I said, you become an operating thetan, not Satan. But so once you're cleared of engrams, the positive aspects of thetans start to regain their powers, and some of those powers are like telekinesis and telepathy. So apparently,
if Scientology can get me telekinesis, sign me up for free, please. Yes, that would actually be dope.
So from their website specifically, they say that man does not have a spirit, he is spirit. So that sounds
that does sound like something you'd say when you're high.
It sounds like a hippie, big time. It sounds like someone was at like Woodstock and was like, "Oh, come on, man. We are spirits. Yeah. Do you want to go have an orgy?" Like, but yeah. So, what I also find interesting about this from a psychological perspective is like, L. Ron Hubbard was like, "Oh no, Dianetics is a complete diagnostic criteria. Like, it's a big theory in psychology," and the American Psychological Association was like, "No." Even to today, like even into today, they're like, no, absolutely not. Nice. And I love that. I love that the APA was like, we'll listen to Freud sometimes, but this guy, no.
Yeah, I gotta draw their line somewhere, I guess.
I'm not sure how they got to this point, but
don't ask questions.
But so that was 1950, and then by 1954, it was like an actual religion, and it was tax exempt because churches don't have to pay taxes.
Oh.
So that's kind of when we start to get into...
I'm not going to comment on that.
Sketchy stuff with Scientology. So, okay. At this point, this is what you were talking about. Scientology starts to open more churches worldwide. In France, Ron gets charged with fraud and petty theft.
I wonder why.
He freaks the fuck out. He goes into hiding.
Where are you getting this information? Wikipedia?
No. From a bunch of different, like, Scientology websites.
Okay. So it's straight from the source.
Yeah,
we're good.
Exactly.
Okay.
This I got from a video by a YouTuber named Kendall Ray. She does a fantastic job.
Oh. I know her, yeah.
But so she gives the information of how... So in 1960, L. Ron Hubbard has retired, but he's still obviously the one that founded the church, so he's like being watched carefully. Yeah. So he goes into hiding once France is like, no, this seems bad. And then in 1979, I think, sometime in the 70s, he disappears, like just gone. His wife never hears from him again. He's just like, fuck, no. Because
all right.
Because something called Operation Snow White came into play.
What is that?
So that was basically a U.S. governmental look into what the fuck was happening in the Church of Scientology. So it was meant to expose L. Ron Hubbard for fraud.
Yeah.
What ended up happening was that 11 of the senior officers, or like senior members of the church, were convicted of obstructing justice, burglary of government offices, and theft of government documents and government property. But L. Ron Hubbard was never officially put in jail for any sort of fraudulent behaviors.
Bro.
Yeah.
Did you hear that?
Someone's upset.
Did you hear that? Somebody doesn't like that Ron Hubbard disappeared. Speaking of, did I tell you the other day at like 2:30 in the morning, someone outside my window was going, "I'm tripping, man! I'm effing tripping!"
Was it L. Ron Hubbard?
He was like, well, it could have been. Because they were clearly on drugs and they were screaming.
In a different Thetan form.
I want to go home. Mom, come pick me up, I'm scared. Some famous names that you may recognize that are Scientologists or part of the church. Formerly, it was Leah Remini.
I really
right?
don't know why you struggle with that name so much.
It's like sea anemones.
You just said that.
Did I get
with
that one right?
No hesitation.
Yes, and that's how you cure it. Remini.
Yeah, Remini.
Remini. Leah Remini.
Not Leon.
Leah Remini. Leah Remini.
Mm-hmm.
See. John Travolta, unfortunately. Yeah. Good old John. Tom Cruise, which I've mentioned like 10 times already because...
He's the most famous. Well, that's the thing with Scientology, is that they are so dead set on getting the most out of the public as they can, and they feel like the best way to do that is through celebrities. So someone like Tom Cruise, especially in the early 2000s when everyone was like, oh my god.
Yes.
Like, that's the best way to do it.
Yeah. There's also like Juliette Lewis, Jason Lee, and there's a bunch of others that I didn't name because the list was so long, and it made me sad seeing some actors that I really like, seeing them on it. I was like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to ruin this for anyone else.
One that really surprised me was Elizabeth Moss. Moss from Handmaid's Tale.
I didn't want to put that on the list because I was like, no.
I had to Google it, and I was like, no, she must have left the church. No. Nope. Which is wild because it's like, what do you know that you're like, this changed my life? It's well, that's the thing. They're all saying, like, I wouldn't be alive if it weren't for Scientology. Yeah. Like, Kirstie Alley literally said, like, Scientology saved my life. I was like, why?
Like, don't be shy. Tell us what is going on.
I was also surprised by Nancy Cartwright, who is the voice of Bart Simpson and a bunch of the other Simpsons characters. But I was like, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a lot of Simpsons episodes. But they must have made an episode where they made fun of Scientology at some point.
Nancy Cartwright gets Scientology joke blocked from The Simpsons.
For fuck's sake.
Well...
I don't like that.
Nancy, it's okay to have a little humor, you know. It's okay. But apparently there's so many celebrities, too, because they actually, according to a magazine that I read, there was a celebrity project where they would offer benefits and rewards to celebrities to bring them into Scientology if they promote it.
They have celebrity centers all around the world.
Yeah. Which is that's cool, but do other religions need that?
No.
No. So is that normal?
Well, there was an interview with Kirstie Alley where she was very much yelling at the interviewer, asking if the interviewer would ask a Jew if their religion was a cult. And I was like, I don't know. I feel like if you have to yell that side of your argument, you might be a little defensive because it might be a little cult-like. I don't know.
Well, yeah, it's like, okay, I get your point, but also, the Jewish religion doesn't act like a cult, so we don't question it.
Precisely.
They just act like a religion. But Scientology is acting kind of sketchy, which is why we're like, hey, you've got these accusations of crimes and criminals and wrongdoings, so yeah, we're gonna question it a little bit.
I wrote down a quote from a Tom Cruise interview that really put into perspective kind of his view on things. So Tom Cruise said, I think it's a privilege to call yourself a Scientologist. And I think...
Okay, white male.
Okay, that's where I was going to go.
White, rich male.
So let me hop on my soapbox here for a minute. I think it is a privilege because you have... And this might be the thing that gets us sued, but I'm willing to risk it. I think it is a privilege to be able to throw your money at something and not have it, ruin your life.
Yeah.
And to just be able to go around and say, like, yeah, this is what I do. Fuck you guys.
Must be nice to be rich.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting to see how the other side of the world lives.
Yeah.
Everyone who's in a higher tax bracket than us.
Yes. Like, that's the thing. Like,
Yeah.
we can talk about conspiracies all day, every day. But we don't have the luxury of being able to just put hundreds of thousands of dollars into whatever this is.
Anything.
Like I was reading too, Nancy Cartwright has put in like $17 million into the church. Like,
God.
For what? Like, where is this money going? Because I'll tell you right now, it's not going to the people working for the church.
True.
So, the year that L. Ron Hubbard retired in 1960, he also founded a part of Scientology called the Sea Organization, which is it's the Navy, but for Scientology.
Oh.
Which is, remember I said the Navy was going to come back up?
Okay.
So it's like a combination of military and corporate styles of looking at things. So it's not required that any member of Scientology has to be in the Sea Organization, but it's for those people who are like really dedicated and like really want to prove that this means something to them. They have to sign a 1 billion year contract because they believe in reincarnation, right? So you have to sign it and say that even after you die, you're going to come back to the church and continue to work.
How are they going to enforce that?
That's my question.
That reminds me of those memes where it's like, have you heard about our extended car warranty?
Exactly.
Like, they come out of nowhere, like, what do you mean? Hi, you've only served 600 years of your billion-year sentence. Can you please come back?
We're waiting.
You think the world's going to be around in 1 billion more years?
It doesn't matter to them.
Let's
the things
be
are
realistic.
from space. So, but
well, what if the world ends? Where are they going to send the rest of the needs? Where are they going to go? I'm not...
Oh my god, we're gonna get so sued. Oh god.
I just can't remember the name.
But so the members of the Sea Organization are required to live in these like army barrack style housing complexes. And they
Sounds nice and traumatic.
like they work as if it's like a boot camp. Like they get yelled at, they're supposed to follow this regulated order. But the thing is, like...
That sounds nice and traumatic.
People who have left the church have said that they're working 20-hour days for no money. They get a weekly allowance of $50. So this $17 million donation
illegal.
from someone like Nancy Cartwright, I'm sure very similar donations coming from Tom Cruise. Like, where is this money going? To open more celebrity centers? Because it's not going to the people that are working for the Scientology church.
It's going to L. Ron Hubbard.
But the other thing, too, is, like, because you sign this billion-year contract, if you decide that you're going to leave the church, they bill you for unused training time that they've given you.
For 1 billion years.
Well, it's hundreds of thousands of dollars that they'll attempt to bill you because you've scammed them out of a worker. They've given you all these skills and all of this training to achieve enlightenment and peace and become an OT, and you're just gonna leave.
This reminds me of a pyramid scheme.
It's
Interesting.
basically Sensi.
Sensi, if you want to sponsor us, we're still down.
Yeah, I'll still do it. But the Sea Organization and that sort of thing is kind of what brought the current leader of Scientology to the position he's in now.
Mm-hmm.
So David Miscavige, who is the current head of the Church of Scientology, because L. Ron Hubbard died. He had a stroke, I think.
Oh.
It sucks.
R.I.P.
But I guess it's not really that sad for them, because I guess he's back somewhere. Or maybe he's still at the impact station in space. I don't know.
Yeah, what's the turnaround period? Do they have a long layover? Get to stop at Starbucks and then zoom back to Earth?
Literally Starbucks, because they're in space.
Yeah.
I hate us. So, David Miscavige dropped out of school at 16 to join the Sea Organization. By 19, he was the head of, like, the part of the Sea Organization that deals with, like, intel. So you mentioned before in those sessions with the auditors, they record it and use it for blackmail.
Yeah.
David Miscavige was the one that was in charge of the people who look over that sort of stuff. So for people like Leah Remini, who leave the church and are speaking out about what's been going on, he was kind of on top of things to throw out. He's also, like, best fucking friends with Tom Cruise. Like, they hang out all the time.
We need to have words.
There's no saving Tom Cruise at this point. Thank God Katie Holmes got out of there.
Got all of his ex-wives.
You know what? True. He joined the church because of his first wife. But then it led to the demise of his next 2 marriages.
Yeah.
So, I don't know about that. But, David's dad wrote a book about how terrible his son is, pretty much. And how he shouldn't be listened to. And pretty much everybody that has left the church since David took over has been like, this guy is abusive, this shit. I guess there was an interview that, like, one of his former officers did, where she said that David just ordered one of his, I think it was his secretary, to punch her in the face because he didn't feel like doing it. So the secretary got up and punched this woman in the face.
Oh my God.
But he also created something called The Hole. So I got this from Leah Remini.
That doesn't sound good. We love you, Leah.
So The Hole is a work camp where the troubled church members go when they're not appropriately following Scientology rules. Because there's, like, a booklet that they give you, which I guess is like, thanks. Like, the rules are here. But apparently it's a very, very nasty place to be. The Church of Scientology completely denies that this exists. I am not saying it does.
When you say The Hole, I'm picturing the book and movie Holes, and I'm picturing people digging holes in the desert.
I'm picturing, like, what's that called? Like the Maze Runner, when they're in, like, the elevator. They, like, comes up.
That'd be kind of dope, though. My 13-year-old self would be thriving if I was thrown in that kind of hole.
You know what? Fair enough. But you know who's not thriving is David Miscavige's wife, Shelley.
Oh, yeah.
So what drove me to want to talk about Scientology in general was Shelly Miscavige, which is funny because we just spent 50 minutes talking about nothing to do with her, and this is probably going to be a 2-minute conversation. But so apparently Shelley took over some jobs for people who were kind of slacking off, so that they wouldn't get sent to the hole, and did not tell David what was happening. And no one has seen Shelly Miscavige or heard from her in fucking years.
It's a bit suspicious.
There's been reports of her around, I think there's been 2 sightings of her, and people said, like, they weren't even sure it was her, but she looked very thin, very unhealthy. But David and the rest of the church are like, no, Shelley's doing great. Shelley's fine. She just doesn't want to be interviewed. Which, I don't know. Doesn't sound good to me.
Like, can you maybe just, like, show her to the public just to prove she's alive?
Like, just let people know she's okay, but David is like, no, I don't have to do that. She's fine. She doesn't want me to.
Yeah.
Which sounds like a murderer to me. That might just be years of listening to true crime rubbing off on me. Or it could be intuition. I don't know.
It's just a bit suspicious.
But, like, where is Shelly Miscavige? And why are the
What's your
police
wife
not doing, like, a welfare check?
Wait, why is nobody investigating?
I don't know. I don't know if it's because he's a church official and he thinks that churches are exempt from everything, not just taxes. Which, you know what? I'll give him that because plenty of church leaders have gotten away with plenty of negative things. I don't know. I just want to know where Shelly Miscavige is. I don't think she's okay if she is still alive.
Well, with all of not all of, like, with the accounts of, like, abuse being recounted from these survivors, what do you call?
I would say survivors, yeah.
Survivors, it doesn't seem like it's very probable she's okay. Doesn't seem great.
No, I wouldn't give it high odds.
No, especially because, like, in June of 2019, there were lawsuits filed for the Church of Scientology with kidnapping, human trafficking, stalking, false imprisonment, slander, libel, invasion of privacy, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They deny these allegations.
Well, of course they do.
Because, there's no proof. But with that kind of, like, heavy allegations put on an organization, I'm gonna question it, because that's a lot.
You're gonna look directly at the person that's in charge. You're not gonna look at all of the minor people. Like, they're following the leader. And, like, I'm not saying L. Ron Hubbard was a good guy. Like, I'm not saying he had the right idea in anything. But I feel like he was not as intense as David Miscavige is.
Yeah.
Which is saying a lot. I don't know. It's just, like, religion as a whole is an entirely complicated concept. Like, it's kind of one of those situations where, like, you don't want to shit on anybody's views of the world. But sometimes things like this pop up where you're like, okay, this isn't a matter of, like, what religious beliefs you fall under. It's a matter of human decency.
With the fact that, like, it's true when people, like, come out of it and they say they're trying to ruin my life. That's not really speculation if they're actually trying to ruin your life. Like, bruh, that's not normal. Like, that's not a religion. That screams cult vibes to me and to many other people. Like, have you seen the Reddit threads on Scientology? That is a hole that digs so deep. I got lost in it a couple nights ago.
Even just, like I remember when Leah Remini started, like, openly talking about stuff, and she had, like, a couple specials, like, before she had her show, when she had, like, a couple specials on Oprah or whatever she was doing. Like, I remember her saying that, like, cars follow her, and she knows it's members of the church. Like, she receives anonymous letters telling her she needs to stop. Like,
and that's scary.
Yeah, like, you're totally right. Like, that's not a normal behavior of a religion. Like, when I stopped going to Catholic school when I was a kid...
Yeah, you don't see Christians driving around stalking you, being like, you can't leave, come back. That's not normal. Y'all, that's not normal.
Like, it's the whole point of religion, and they even say on their website, it's freedom for all. The whole point is achieving enlightenment and being a free spirit.
Why are you stalking former members?
Exactly. Then, like, if you really believe this is going to happen, then focus on the people that are doing the work to achieve that enlightenment. You're not going to be able to achieve enlightenment if you're forced into a confined situation.
Kind of feels like it acts like a toxic relationship.
Yes.
In, like, the simplest terms, because when you're in it, they, like, Leah Remini says, like, it's basically brainwashing. So it's like when you're in a toxic relationship and they're gaslighting you, but you're like, it's my fault, like, I love them, I'll stay with them. And in this, you're like, this is good for me, like, this is what I'm supposed to do. But it's toxic, and then when you leave, they, like, blame you. And it's like, yo, that screams toxic. It's just sad, honestly.
Well, exactly. And what makes me sad about all of it is that it just keeps growing. Like, all of this information keeps coming out, but more churches are going up. More information is being spread online and, like, via their website. It's just scary to think that stuff like this is happening. And people...
Yeah.
But it's people in positions of power that are keeping it going.
One guy who was interviewed for, what was it, Star Magazine? What magazine did I look at?
Us Weekly.
Us. One guy said he left the church because he called it, like, very, very dangerous for your spiritual, psychological, mental, emotional health, and evolution. That's bad.
That's bad.
That reminds me of, like, Riverdale season 3 when they were, like, brainwashing people with drugs and stuff. Like, that... This is real life. This is happening.
My final message in all of this is that I am not a religious person, but I think religion can be a really good tool for people to find hope and find a community and find that sense of safety. But when you're making that your entire life and you're feeling threatened if you're not able to do it, you're feeling like you need to donate your time, donate your energy, donate your money over anything else, that's not the freedom that religion should bring. Like, if there's no comfort coming to you, then maybe there's a little bit
that's something
behind. Like, you gotta peel that.
Yeah, that's something that, like, they said, I was watching a YouTube video about this, and the man, I can't remember who it was, who was being interviewed, literally said, like, with the mind control and stuff, it literally takes away your compassion for others. Like, he was like, I'd see people upset or crying and I'd feel nothing. And it's like, that's scary. Yeah. That's, like, taking away your humanity. Yeah. That's so scary to me. Like, because it's like, what, you're just turning them into robots who aim for money and fame?
That's the last thing that humans need. Like, forget about fucking Thetans. We're all human. Like, everyone right now. Everyone right now is human. So, like, taking away that aspect of humanity, I don't see how that betters anything. And that's Scientology.
I have more. I can keep going.
Go for it, my guy.
I can keep... I don't want to say trash talking.
because we respect
not
the church.
Biased. I am just expressing the views of others that I found on the internet. The interwebs. The Google. One of the other questionable aspects, thank you, Leah, was there's no actual end to Scientology. Apparently, you never really get to, what was it, the OT? Is that what you called it?
Yeah.
Like the top, when you become, like, enlightened, you never make it.
No, because there's always
They
more.
just make you keep paying and more therapy. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so there's, like, this unachievable goal to make you stay in it forever. Which is, like, you'd think some people would notice. Like, Tom Cruise has been in this, 30 years now?
I don't know, Tom Cruise is insane. Not just for Scientology.
Don't you think he would have made it by then? Yeah, the Scientologist organizers make it very difficult to leave. I'm quoting Leah Remini on all this, by the way. This part I found crazy. Literally, it says, part of the doctrine, so, like, the rule book or whatever, was that any information that doesn't come from a Scientologist source, like books, magazines, newspapers, internet, movies, is forbidden.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're considered lies that are designed to destroy Scientology by people who don't want others to be happy. What?
That's us, folks.
Huh? What are you talking about? Everything except Scientology is a lie.
I'm gonna go out on a limb here. I'm gonna say a couple people are smoking whatever L. Ron Hubbard had in his back pocket.
Yeah. Can I have some?
Yeah, really.
Like, huh? Like, I don't think the whole world would put in that much effort to try and destroy one religion.
No.
You're telling me the 6.5 other billion people not in Scientology are all hell-bent on destroying Scientology? I don't think so. I don't think anyone's that concerned.
That's the thing. Like, why do you have to defend yourself? It's like one of those situations, like you said,
So
in a toxic
hard.
relationship, or like being bullied. Like when the bully has to try so intensely hard to tell you why they're not a bad person, they're probably a bad person.
Yeah.
Like if you have to convince
And that's
people,
like
even like nice guys saying that
I'm a really nice guy. Like,
Why won't-
trust me. I volunteer. I go to the soup kitchen.
I sit with my grandma sometimes. Why won't you hook up with me?
Yeah.
Like, if you have to tell people that you're a nice guy,
Mm-hmm.
you're probably not that nice of a guy.
That's like the same psychology behind like lying.
Mhm.
They say like the more truthful answers are the short ones. Like, did you do it? No. Meanwhile, did you do it? No, I was here, I did this. It's too specific, it's too detailed, you're digging your own grave.
Exactly. According to Scientologists, they're digging their own pathway to space.
Yeah. And it's just like, apparently they get punished if they look at stuff that's not from Scientology. Like, you want to read Twilight? You can't. It's not a Scientology source.
Well,
You're in
I
trouble.
don't blame them for that.
Oh God, okay. My last note was, I think this is really nasty. Mental health treatment doesn't exist. It's not allowed.
No, because it's all
They're saying,
Dianetics to them.
yeah, so they say like psychology and psychiatry are fake. They deny mental illnesses exist. And that, as someone who studied psychology, makes me want to scream, because it's like there are people with real mental illnesses, real issues that need help, but you're saying it's not
That's
real.
because-
It is real. You are lying.
That's because the APA was like, no, this stuff is stupid. And in retaliation, they were like, well, you guys are stupid.
Like, you're going to tell me that anxiety isn't real when I sit here having a panic attack trying to make a phone call to the doctor? Like, you're gonna tell me that that's not real? You're gonna tell me depression isn't real? You're gonna tell me, no, I want to fight you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not lie to me like that. That is not true. It's real. It's real. Ask anyone with a mental illness. They'll tell you, yup, it sucks. It's very real.
No, I like
what
to
do you-
people like that, it doesn't matter. Like there's
That's like saying, no, people don't have cancer while there's people dying
Yeah.
of cancer. You're going to tell them they're not sick? Like, what do you mean? They literally are.
Yeah.
That's why they're in the hospital right now. You're just going to say, no? Like, shut up.
Shut up.
I will fight you any day of the week.
That was not directed at the Church of Scientology for the officials that are
That was just
listening.
directed at people who talk trash about psychology.
Yeah. Neither of us want to fight the church.
Yeah, please don't.
Just
Scientology,
throwing
you
that
could
out there
totally
again.
sponsor us.
Well, I think
Yeah.
there's so much that can be talked about, but I think that kind of wraps up what we wanted to delve into.
I think we've talked a safe amount. I don't think we should get into
I
more.
agree. I think we're both at the point where if we start talking about anything else, we're going to put our feet in our mouth.
And we may get in
Yeah.
trouble.
And that $11 we have to our name is going to disappear.
Which I cannot afford because I owe the government $18,000.
Well, what we
Yeah,
have to do is start a church so we can be tax exempt.
join the Thneed Church. We accept all donations. Please give us money. We have no association with the Lorax.
Creeps and Coffee is produced and edited by us, Kate and James.
Our theme music is Stuck in a Hole by Dated.
For more information on where to find them, check out the link in our show notes. And to connect with us, follow us on Instagram and Twitter @Creeps and Coffee.